if English as a lingua franca can be integrated in ELT settings and the student might have different perspective on standardized English, what would be the margin line of being standardized and not being standardized? So my overall reflection is like ELT and ELF are totally different.
Hello and welcome to Tea Leaf English. I'm your host, Thu, and today I've got a special guest. Most of you may know him as Lingua Franca, and this is Sayar Wai Yan Htut. Hi, Sayar.
Hi, Teacher Dun. Really nice to meet you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you have become an English language teacher?
I'm currently teaching English to adults and young learners at the Space Language Academy. And at the same time, I'm studying a master's degree at the Kim Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi in Thailand. Yeah, it was a long story. Back in 2015, just before I finished my final exam in the University, I got a job offer as a translator at a media company. At that time, I loved that job because the salary was quite attractive as a fresh graduate then. So I worked there for over 4 months and realized that I wasn't really into that kind of office environment, like sitting and writing, typing, Burmese to English to Burmese subtitling. I just found myself that I was more into a kind of kinesthetic activity at my workplace. So I just give a shot to teaching. So I decided to quit in 2016 February, and I decided to apply for 2 diploma courses. One is from ELTM, University of Yangon Education, and the second one is ELT from University of Yangon. I got accepted by University of Yangon, so I started my very first teaching experience as a private tutor in 2016, like September, while I was attending ELT courses at the University of Yangon. So that was my very first experience teaching one-on-one kids. So I had no serious intention to be an educator or a teacher during my bachelor degree. So later then I decided to be a teacher. Yes, I love that. For now, I've been teaching for over 7 years.
Wow,
So
7 years.
over 7 years.
So it's quite a journey. So you mentioned that you were translator, and
Yes.
then so you started teaching, and then now you fell in love. How do you find the job now?
Of course, I love it. So when somebody asks me, is teaching your hobby? I always reply, no, teaching is not my hobby. Teaching is my passion. Yeah.
Wow.
Because hobby is something I normally do in my free time for fun, just to kill my time. That's it. So I have no intention to develop myself regarding with that hobby, especially like badminton. I play badminton so hard, but I had no intention to be a professional or university or national selection. I don't have that kind of idea. But in teaching, I have different perspective, different motivation in teaching, especially, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. If I fail today, I'm going to try tomorrow. When I receive some constructive feedback from our supervisors and seniors, okay, I develop myself by reading them again and again. I have that kind of motivation while working, especially teaching my kids. I really love that kind of jobs rather than way more than being a hobby. It's more like my true passion. Yes.
That's great to hear. So do you have any then tips for people who are deciding or want to pursue teaching jobs, but not sure yet? Or do you have any tips and advice for people like that who are considering?
Yes, I do. Some of my students would suggest my suggestions like how to become a teacher. Will I be suitable with the teaching career? So at that time, I normally reply like this. So, are you really interested in dealing with people? Like teaching, you really need to be interested in people. It's not easy job or it's not a really difficult thing because not everyone can be interested in other people. It's not about the gossiping or the curiosity about their life. It's not like this. How to deal with people. So I just discovered that one while I was teaching a lot of one-on-one private sessions. So, okay, this kid had this one. So I need to deal with that kind of tech. And another family, they got another issue. So I have to deal with different issues. So if you can handle like individually while I was teaching one-on-one. So later, gradually, I can handle the size like 15 or 16 student class. We really need to be so absorbed by their different background, different learning style, their interest, that kind of thing. If you're really interested in dealing with people, yes, teaching job can be a good shot for you.
So it's about helping people, right?
Exactly.
What they
But
and
today a little bit changed. So you also need to be interested in technologies and upgrade things because of AI and like technology advancements day by day. So yeah, you need to handle. So at first, I used to be a science teacher after finishing my ELD from University of Yangon. I used to be a subject teacher at an international school. So later, I decided to be the English language teacher at the space. So back in that 2-year experience of being an international school subject teacher, I realized that I am even more into language specific rather than those subjects. That's why I decided if you really want to be a teacher, okay, what kind of subject are you interested in? Is it suitable with your background? You have been learning or you have learned at your university, or you want to initiate the new subject, something like because teaching some subject and teaching language somehow stay different. Maybe they have the same methodology, same approaches, but the way we need to deal with the lesson and curriculum and students can be different too.
so from what you have said, I understand that like knowing what you want to teach first. You
Yeah.
want to teach subject, or you want to teach language. And
Yes.
start from there.
Yes.
That's great. So you mentioned about your interest in language.
Yeah.
In terms of studying, what are you currently studying?
That's really a good question. How should I put it? So back in University of Yangon, so the first teacher, some teachers introduced as linguistics. So listener, if you are an English specialization student, so you really know that word. You will be so familiar with that subject. So yeah, back in University, I really found that subject so hard. But in University of Yangon, it changed. I somehow really like to learn that kind of very deep philosophy and how we produce language. It's all under the linguistic term. So during the COVID-19, I used to read 2 or 3 pages about linguistics every night because that was the only way to kill my time, kill my boredom. So I had nothing to do with the teaching or preparing the lesson because of that situation at that time. So later I found that, linguistics, they can be one of my interests. That's why currently I'm doing research and thesis under the sociolinguistics subject, English as a lingua franca. So this is how we communicate English when we mean two speakers who doesn't share the same native language, same first language. So that kind of studies of English is called lingua franca. So I'm doing that research and thesis at the moment.
So tell us a bit more about that then. What does your research involve and why is it important to know?
Yeah. So the first thing is like English as a lingua franca, like I said. So that English is used by two speakers who don't share their same native language. For example, Burmese student and Thai student. The way they use English can be the English as a lingua franca. But when I talk to a native speaker from Australia or Singapore, so that English can be the English as a lingua franca. So English as a lingua franca can be available, especially in Thailand, because Thailand's university, they offer a lot of international program and a lot of Myanmar students registered and enrolled here. A lot of Myanmar students are coming day by day. That English is popular in university setting. So my thesis topic is English as a lingua franca in Thai university setting, especially for the undergraduate students. So in my university, I'm trying to investigate the use of English as a lingua franca between Myanmar undergraduate students and administrative office at the university. Yes, it's still in progress. I'm waiting for the approval to conduct the research. but my proposal has been passed.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You aim to investigate the use of English as a lingua franca
Franca.
between Myanmar students and administrative stuff.
Yes.
And if you don't mind me asking, what research methods are you using?
I'm going to use two ways. The first one is the interview. The interview may have different parts. So I'm still developing those parts. But overall, so the interview will cover their background of English learning and the background of the language used back in Myanmar. So some of the students I decided to choose are credit transfer students, especially they finished at least second year or third year at their previous universities in Myanmar. I'm going to investigate that if they have any chances to use English in the university setting, something like that. And another thing is their language proficiency, how they are confident with their language proficiency, or if they have that kind of standardized test scores, I'm going to investigate those scores and so that I can continue further. And the second part is about the perspective of English as a lingua franca. For the preliminary interview, like casual talk with the candidates, participants, I got a really diverse answers from them. The first one is that they feel that it's okay. Like that English, they know that English is not a really standardized that they learned in the previous high school and university, but stay okay. On the other hand, some participants replying to me, that kind of use of English could hinder their development of English in the future. So I got a really diverse question. And so that is all about my job to look further, to dig very deeper that what is their philosophy behind that, something like that. This is all about the interview. A second step is to look for the written evidence. So I'm going to look for their email and line chat because we use line here a lot. So line chat conversation so that will be a really solid evidence of English as a lingua franca in the written form. To be frank, English as a lingua franca can be more in speaking because it's like spoken communications. But I've got some problems with collecting the data when I discuss because I cannot record their daily authentic conversation. It doesn't work well in terms of authenticity. That's why I'm gonna collect their written evidence, like written history, like chat history and email thread to see if I can find some kind of appropriate lingua franca usage and how they'll dealt with the communication barriers between them and the administrative staff at the university department. This is what I'm going to do for this whole year.
That's interesting. As a teacher, then, how does knowing English as a lingua franca help students or in teaching?
That's a really good question because this year, two master candidates are doing English as a lingua franca. The first one is me, and second one is Vietnamese student. At first, he wasn't looking for English as a lingua franca. He was just focusing on the textbook analysis. And he got another idea to put English as a lingua franca category as one of his methodologies. Because he realized that in their country, the textbooks orient too much westernized philosophy. So that's why he decided to put another lingua franca perspective to analyze the textbook in their country. So now we got two candidates working for English the lingua franca. And we got really good discussions at our department. So we realized that knowing English as a lingua franca won't help students get the high scores in standardized tests, especially IELTS or TOEFL or whatsoever. But knowing English as a lingua franca can promote their communication in the real life, especially with the non-native speakers. While I was reading about the English as a lingua franca in the ELT setting, so we also got two different perspectives. Yes, English as a lingua franca can survive in ELT setting, but the scholars got the really different ideas that if they could be a part of curriculum at the ELT setting. I think if I'm not wrong, 2 months ago, there was a really good article in IH International organization website. So according to the article, so the scholar highlighted that English as a lingua franca can be a really good communication tool for all the learners, especially non-native speakers. But they raised a huge question that if English as a lingua franca can be integrated in ELD settings and the student might have different perspective on standardized English, what would be the margin line of being standardized and not being standardized? So my overall reflection is like ELD and ELF are totally different because ELD is under teaching English. English as a lingua franca is part of the sociolinguistic, how we use the language in our society. So this is a kind of like another approach or linguistics territory, especially between the two different non-native English speakers. So I'm not sure. For me, currently, I have no idea how to blend these two different areas. So for me, at the moment, I can't handle that kind of huge project. So that's why, as my profession, I teach English very systematically and I follow a lot of standardized things. But on the other hand, as a project, as my thesis project, I am taking down a lot of linguistics things, also westernization, imperialism, decolonization, which are closely related to English as a lingua franca.
So let me rephrase what I have understood from you. So what you're saying is that first, it's important to draw the line between English as a standard English and English as a lingua
franca.
Yes. But in terms of teaching, it's a good idea to aim for standard English. At the same time, raise some awareness, the existence of English as a lingua franca. Because if in real life, sometimes when you communicate with different people, you have to adjust your style. Although you speak in standard English, but if you meet other people, then you might have to adjust your style. I remember the story told by one of the teachers I've met. There's something like, say, for example, you want to get a taxi and you speak standard English and you might just, hello, excuse me, would you mind? Or could I possibly go to this? But maybe you can't do that in that situation. You can just taxi to something like that. So in that sense, it's about communication. It's not about speaking in standard English. That's what I've understood from what you have said.
Yeah. If we talk about the lingua franca, we need to highlight the cultural differences. Because in Myanmar, for example, and now I'm in Myanmar, I pretend to be an English spoken person, for example, English speaking person. And everyone will understand my accent and pronunciation. And even I made a mistake, they do understand. Because we share a lot of mistakes, for example. We say ferry. In fact, we don't say ferry for the transportation on land. At least we share the same mistake, same errors. Everything is shared in the same culture. So the idea is, okay, if I say the word ferry in Thailand, will they have the same meaning in their mind? Will they process the same meaning in there? This is we call English as a lingua franca. As long as we share the same culture, it won't emerge as English as a lingua franca. We can share the same background, same culture, same language. When I conclude your taxi story, yes. So if I'm trying to speak taxi driver in Myanmar, pretending to be another guy, they may probably understand because of my accent and because of the choice of words I use. But in Thailand, it's totally different. Like you expected. So when I was in here for the very first time from airport to my apartment, when I booked the taxi, I used 2 or 3 words. That's it. Like you said, taxi, and so my luggage, and that's it. So he said that he said tow. I know, that's it. This is how we should have some sort of awareness for cultural differences. Yes. But when I go back to my ELD classroom, it is so difficult to teach like that. Oh, you can talk like that. So at that time, what is the point of their English language learning, right? So if they can communicate with a very single word in Thailand, what is the point of getting the IELTS high scores at their tests, right? So at the moment, I cannot combine these two different areas.
Yeah. There's so many implications and things too.
Is there a hot debate so far?
Yeah. So where do you draw the line? And also, should we teach or if we have to raise awareness, how do we do that? Oh, so there's so many implications in that, but it sounds very interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
So now, can you tell us a bit more about your master's experience then? And how do you find your educational experience?
Yeah. Master is not as difficult as I thought before I registered because the first thing is because being in Thailand is quite easy for public students. Not only for me, I think a lot of Myanmar students quite find it comfortable to study here because the English is very okay for them, but for us, all of us to communicate. Another thing is the education service is quite cost effective. So we don't normally find it problematic here. But as a master degree student, doing a thesis is like really challenging for me because it's my first time trying master's degree because I've never tried that level before. Everything I did in my ELT course at University of Young was just a 10 paper with 4 or 5 people. It's something like 30 pages. That's it. But here, the thesis, the overall pages is something around 90 or 95 at least. And the word limit is something around 20,000. It was a huge amount for me to complete within this year. Even I'm still questioning myself that could I finish this one on time or in time at least. Yeah. And another thing is in Thailand, if the university is really supportive, they will definitely force you to get a publication. They will always force the students like that. So it's not just about my liberal arts subject. So different subjects from science, education, development study, they have to publish at least one paper in their master's degree, which is quite new for me. Here, the research output is a part of the university rank. I'm not saying it is good or bad, but so if your research output is not good, the university can't get their high ranks. So they compete here a lot. Yeah, it was really new to me. But again, so like my background, my linguistics background, my teaching background, and the way I received their lecture, I didn't find any problems here. So we really got a good classroom environment. Maybe because our department is language study and English, so we have no communication barrier because everyone knows English very well. But it depends on the subject. Some subjects they may find it difficult to communicate in English. Overall, it's quite okay for me, apart from the doing research things here. So serious. They take this so serious. Yes.
Right. So from what you have said, the main challenge was research writing or like
Yes.
writing specifically for
Everything.
research. Because it's
Everything about research.
so writing in general, would you say?
Yes. Writing for a journal to get a paper, publish a paper. Yes.
So is there anything that students can do now or at research?
Yes, they can. Because the first of all, publishing paper, you don't need to attend any university. That's the thing I discovered. If you are so confident, you can publish from anywhere. But the problem is they prefer if you have an affiliation with any university, any institutions. So that's their second choice. So not majority, almost all the researchers have an affiliation with an institution or at least one institution. So that's the first thing. But anyway, you can write a really good paper on your own if you have a supervisor or really good mentor. And so you can study the format, what the research paper looks like. So you can Google it like introduction, methodology, discussion, conclusion. That's it. So these are the 4 main parts. But you can learn a lot of things online, and you can read a lot of books like how to write a paper in English language teaching, and you can read every other scholars. We got some free ELT database, but not every ELT database are free, but most of them are free. So you can read them, imitate them, and I'm not saying copy, trying to make reference of their brain, and you can write your own thing. And writing a research paper is not that difficult if you have plenty of ideas. At least you must have several ideas so that you can put it out and that one is applicable for your community. So in our academic setting, they said 2 things, like credibility and reliability. So your one must have credibility, like it can be really credible by any person, any scholars. And second one, you must have a reliability. It must be reliable to the community you are working. So yeah, if you can, even though you are not attending anywhere, you can still write the paper again. So you must have a supervisor to review very thoroughly.
So what you're saying is that if you want to be a researcher, then having publications will be useful. And to publish, you may not necessarily need to be a master's student or a PhD student, but affiliation with the universities help. I think it's also because if you are a master's student, for example, you have access to a lot of journal articles.
That's right.
When if you are independent, then it is very expensive
Yes.
to buy those articles.
That's right. That's right.
Affiliation helps a lot in that
Yeah.
sense.
That's the one reason. Another reason, like they probably look for the supervisor. Like if I'm an independent researcher, who will be your supervisor? Because some paper we have to put the supervisor name in the publication. Yeah, in our manuscript. Yeah, that talks about.
I hope you finish your master's successfully and upload your publications, which I am looking forward to reading.
Yes. Yes.
And
Actually, actually, I have submitted one. So it's all about a kind of a small bridge between the sociolinguistics and ELD. It's a kind of theoretical background articles, and not the research article. So I'm still waiting for their response.
let us know then when we'll be looking
Yes.
forward to reading it.
Yes, maybe if my one is accepted, maybe probably within 2 or 3 months it can be published.
We'll be waiting for the news on your Facebook page, which
Definitely.
is Wai Yan Htut.
Yes, Wai Yan Htut, my official page. Not official. I have only one page. But mean,
It's a fan page. Or
I normally upload the educational contents and collection of my writing. I don't normally post the stupid things.
would you like to repeat the name so that if our listeners want to follow you, they can follow you on Facebook?
My page,
Yes.
WAIYANHTUT. Yes, with my page. And that the cover is like the picture of me teaching at Thai high school as a teaching practice. You will see that.
Thank you. So, Sayar, it has been a great pleasure having you on the show. I hope we'll see you soon.
Definitely, yes. Please do invite me if you still have further interesting contents or topics. Yeah, I'll be
Totally. I will do that. Thank
Yes.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. This is Tailee's English, where we brew knowledge, sip inspiration, and connect with a vibrant community of teachers. Happy teaching!